Hello everyone, and welcome to the Real Kingman Corporation. My name is Philip Wallace, and in this episode, I will be describing how you can buy a business that costs over $1 million for nothing out of pocket. And in order for me to best explain the concept, let's set aside for now the nothing out of pocket part and just concentrate on the strategy of buying a business, because some people still believe that starting a new business from scratch is a better idea. But here are some reasons why buying a business could be so much smarter. Like speed. You could have another business up and running so much faster if you buy it with less risk, and you'll already have brand recognition and a whole bunch more financing options. You'll also get instant customers, immediate sales, and profits because the systems are already in place with contacts and employees. Knowing that, why would you choose to start from scratch? So yes, we believe that without a doubt, buying a business is way smarter a move than starting a new business, especially when you already have a business, because now you have the opportunity to buy the right bolt-on business to attach to your current business to help you grow your wealth so much faster. But what kind of bolt-on business should you consider? And how do you find a business owner who's willing to sell the type of business that you need to help your current business? Well, let's check out this list of the top reasons businesses close. Like money. Either not making any money or not making enough money for the time that it takes. And by the way, this is the only one on this list of the top reasons businesses close that's actually about money. Retirement. They have just had enough and they don't want to work anymore. Relocation. For whatever reason, they want to be in a different location, like maybe it's too expensive where they are, or they want to be closer to their children or parents. Burnout. They are tired of doing the same thing over and over. Health. Just not allowing them to continue running their business. Shiny object syndrome. They would just rather be doing something else. Upcycle. They believe that now is the time to move on. Partners. Being partners is not easy, as everybody knows. Death of the owner. Now no one wants to take over the business. Divorce usually ends up with one of them leaving the business. So basically any type of business in any industry can close down. And the most important thing that you should know about this list is that these people on the list are the exact people that you want to do business with. These are the individuals that are eager to sell their profitable businesses. And most importantly, they are also open to seller financing all or part of the purchase price in order to get it done. So how do you approach a seller? Well, it's important to know that you only want to be talking to the actual owner or owners of the business. You don't need their lawyer, accountant, or broker slowing things down. So be careful. You don't want to say the wrong things. You want the business owner to see you as a solution to their problem. And how much does the seller want for the business? Even if you're not good with numbers or you're not sure of something, you still need the right information so you can decide whether or not to move forward. And if you do decide to move forward, then this would be the right time to lock yourself in as the only possible buyer of the business. And now we're going to bring back to the table the nothing out of pocket part of buying a business. And as impossible as it might sound right now to you, let's say there's a way. Say there's a way for you to buy $1 million business in the next 6 to 12 months from now. Well, right here today in this video, I'm going to show you how you can do exactly that. Buy $1 million business for $0 out of pocket and have the business pay 100% of the acquisition cost. Okay, so the asking price of the business is $1 million. And of course, you want to pay $0 out of pocket. So the gap between how much you'd like to pay and the asking price is $1 million. And before you do anything, you might want to carve out of the deal anything that you don't want or need in the business for the deal to make sense for you, like profit centers or expenses that you've identified as things that you can do without. Deciding from the beginning not to acquire vehicles, real estate equipment, or anything else that you don't need could significantly close the $1 million gap. But for this example, we're not going to carve anything out of the deal. We're going to keep this business that we would like to buy fully intact and work with the $1 million asking price. So if you're done kicking the tires, let's put in an offer to the seller for how you would like to pay the $1 million asking price. And say your offer was to pay the seller 80% through seller financing and 20% in an earnout. you would be asking the seller to finance 80% of the asking price, which in this case would be $800,000 of the $1 million. And the 20% earnout, which is an agreement giving the buyer assurance that the business will continue to perform at the level agreed upon with the seller for a specified period. So if the business does achieve the goals by the end of the agreement, which in a typical agreement would be between 4 and 8 months after closing, the seller would then get that earnout money, which in our example would be 20% or $200,000. And the business owner could accept that offer or say heck no. And if they did turn down your offer, your next question to the seller would probably be, what would you be willing to accept? Remember, we are only having conversations with motivated sellers. And here are many reasons why someone would want to sell their profitable business, like money, either not making any money or not making enough money for it to make sense. Retirement, they have just had enough and they don't want to work anymore. Relocation, for whatever reason, they want to be in a different location, like maybe it's too expensive where they are, or they want to be closer to their children or parents. Burnout, they're tired of doing the same thing over and over. Can't sell. They tried to sell the business before but couldn't sell it. Shiny object syndrome. What's over there looks much better than what's over here. Death. Doesn't have to be the business owner's death. Partners. As you know, being partners is not easy, and you don't need to own 100% of any business. So if one of the partners want out of the business and that will allow you to get into the business, then great. Health. Just not allowing them to continue running the business. Divorce. If they own and run the business together, but for whatever reason they decide to divorce, one of them would usually leave the business too. And since they are motivated sellers, we would probably want to encourage the business owner to propose a counteroffer. And now would be a good time to point out the law of price and terms, which states, if it's a seller's price, then it's the buyer's terms. And if it's a seller's terms, then it's the buyer's price. Now, say the seller responded saying that they would be okay with seller financing, but only $100,000. And they would also accept a $100,000 earnout. Okay, sweet. So now our gap to fill is only $800,000. And that's it, folks, because that is all you need to close any deal. A motivated seller, a profitable business, and your offer laying out exactly how you plan to pay the seller what they want. Closing the gap. Okay, so now you have to come up with the remaining $800,000 to give the seller, and you don't want to pay for it with any of your own money. Well, here are some things that you could do, like supplier grant, invest, loan, terms, consignment. You could approach one of the business's suppliers and ask for a grant, or a cash investment, or a straight loan, or to extend the terms of the current agreement, or they could agree to a consignment deal. The goal is to get one or more of the suppliers to agree to one of your reasonable offers to help you close the gap. And it wouldn't be out of the ordinary in a deal like this to get $100,000 from a longtime supplier. Integrator equity. You could approach a key person or persons who works for the company that you're trying to buy, like a general manager or whoever's in charge of marketing, accounting, or operations, and ask them to invest or buy an equity interest in the company. Now, say they came up with $100,000. Remember, they can get money from friends, family, their bank, retirement accounts, stocks, bitcoins, or real estate. And if they're comfortable working for the company and believe in the business, they could, and they usually would, find the money to help you fill the gap. Lines of credit. The seller could personally or through the business apply for a line of credit to bring the cash to the table so you can close the gap. Employees as a group. Just like integrator equity, in some instances, the employees as a group will want to invest collectively. Contractors as an investor. Just like integrator equity and employees as a group, sometimes contractors that work with the company are interested in investing, taking on the seller's debt. Many business owners are in debt, and if you agree to take over any of the business owner's debts, you could minus that amount from the remaining $800,000. Seller inventory consignment. What if you agreed to leave the inventory under the seller's control and pay the seller for the inventory as it's sold? Tax assumption. You could assume the tax liabilities of the acquisition. Yeah, you can agree to pay the tax liabilities of the deal. This could be significant amount of money in some cases. DDP, deferred down payment. Agree to pay the down payment at a later date, usually no more than 60 days after after closing. If the seller doesn't need the money the day after closing, then why not accept some form of DDP to help you get to the number? And you only really need seller financing and DDP or seller financing and an earnout to get the seller what they want. But you can and should use as many of these tactics as you need to help close the gap. I should also point out that some of these tactics can only be used before closing, meaning that you will have to get the seller's approval before you can execute on them. But then there are others that you would only use post-closing once you are the owner of the business. And some of the tactics could be used pre or post-closing. ABL or asset-based loan. Most profitable businesses, even service-based businesses, have assets that a lender would be willing to lend on. ALT or alternative lenders. There is an entire industry of alternative money lenders that are willing to lend large sums of dollars along any step of the acquisition process. Third-party PG or personal guarantee loan. Anyone out there with income, no matter how broke or rich they say they are, as long as they have really good to excellent credit, can and should be encouraged to borrow larger sums of money to invest. And a really good place to invest that money is helping you to buy a business, because the business will pay back the debt, plus that person will grow their credit, allowing them to borrow larger sums of money in the future, while also allowing them to receive cash regularly to put into their pocket. It's called passive income, and passive income should be everyone's goal. Seller co-sign for a loan. You could ask the motivated seller to co-sign for a loan in which the seller would keep the money that is borrowed while you assume the repayment of that loan. Business broker, investment banker, loan commission. These people lend money. That is what they do for a living. They could lend you anywhere from $100,000 up to $700,000 of the $1 million that you're looking for in this scenario. So it's probably a good idea to not only bring in many of these people into your network, but also know the type of lending opportunities that they are looking for. Broker invest for equity. Would the seller's broker be interested in investing? Vendor cosign. Would the vendor cosign for a loan? Angel investor. If the deal makes sense and they connect to your story, then they will lend you money. HELOC for real estate. Borrow money from the equity that is already in the real estate to close the gap. Real estate refinance. Property owners can tap into the equity that they've already built up to free up funds to close the gap. Hello, landlord. We are the new owners of the business. Can we get 3 months of free rent to help us afford to buy the business? No? Well, how many months can we get? None. Okay then, can we not pay the rent for the next 3 months and then add the 3 months at the end of the lease? No? Well then, how about 2 months? Seller trash to cash. If you can identify hidden assets that the seller doesn't value, you could sell those assets and use the money to close the gap. FF&E, furniture, fixtures, or equipment financing. There are money lenders who will lend based on the FF&E used in the operation of the business. Inventory finance. If the seller won't finance the inventory, which we would rather, then a money lender will. Mezzanine financing. These are money lenders who specialize in topping up loans. If a money lender would only give you $700,000, a mezzanine lender would top up the loan by giving you another $200,000. RBF or revenue-based financing. These money lenders will lend you money based on the amount of revenue that the business makes. MBF, merchant-based financing. These money lenders will lend you money so they can collect a percentage of your credit card sales until the loan is paid back. Credit card release reserves. A lot of people don't know about this one. Credit card companies put aside a certain portion of the funds that pass through the company's credit card. They say it's for liabilities, but if you don't ask for the money back, they won't tell you about it. And in some cases, the refunds in these reserves are in the millions of dollars. Life insurance loan. There are life insurance loans that allow you to borrow money from the life insurance company tax-free to help you close the gap. And if you were to default on paying back said loans, they wouldn't take the missed payments from the amount that you're depositing for your life insurance payments. No, that amount would continue to grow, continue to collect dividends, even if you continue to be delinquent on the loan payments, because in the end, they would just subtract the amount you still owe for the loan from the death benefit amount that your beneficiaries are supposed to receive. Win-win-win. Close and delay AP or automatic payments. Would not paying some bills for 30, 60, or 90 days free up some cash to close the gap? Close and defer AP or automatic payments. After delaying payments, agree to pay later, freeing up even more cash to close the gap. PMN, private money note, to an investor in exchange for equity. Most people would want to bring in their friends and family into a deal, but we would rather bring in people who can help our business while at the same time helping their own business. So there's more of a mutual benefit. For example, say you can find someone who sells different products and services to the same customers that you will be selling to, because then that person would bring their audience with them, which would instantly mean more sales for both businesses. Government grant. This should be an essential part of every business. The government will ask you to fill out surveys and questionnaires and such, and then they will give you thousands or maybe even tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars, and you won't have to pay it back. And here's another mistake most business owners are making. They don't continue to follow up with the people after they gave them the grant money, when secretly those people usually have more grant money to give away, but they only want to give it to those business owners who are proved to be serious about growing their business. Or at a minimum, they would at least be able to point you in the right direction to where you could find other grants, aka free money, AR or accounts receivable recourse, a loan against the accounts receivable, or non-recourse loan where they buy the company's accounts receivable. We prefer non-recourse. Most companies have some form of AR in their business, and money lenders will lend you a percentage of that AR amount so you can put it towards closing the gap. Sponsors. You should always be seeking sponsors. They are better than investors because investors want equity, meaning they want to own piece of your business. But sponsors, they just want to give you a bunch of money without owning anything. So you get to decide if you want to bring back the sponsor, and if you do decide to bring back a sponsor, they will have to give you a whole bunch more money to get back in. So in closing, if you have a motivated seller who has agreed to work with you to get the deal done, then making it happen for $0 out of pocket is very simple, and we know of over 200 more ways than what we have described to you to get the deal done. And I wouldn't advise it, but as always, it doesn't have to be a no money out of pocket deal. At any point along the life cycle of the deal, you can agree to pay some, most, or all of the purchase price if you want. But I mean, you tell me, do you know of a faster, safer way to instantly acquire way more than you have right now than buying a business? And after hearing what I've said, do you think you could now buy a business on your own for no money out of pocket? How about if you got some help from someone who could show you exactly what to do while addressing all of your questions and concerns? Do you think that person could help to dramatically increase your chances of successfully acquiring the perfect bolt-on business to attach to your current business to help increase sales and lower costs? And then do you believe that if you were able to buy a business to work with your current business, that you would be way farther ahead than where you are now? Buying a business is exactly what you should be doing next. And to start, you won't need high cash reserves or even a huge cash flow in your current business. Large existing lines of credit, banking contacts and relationships, M&A, mergers and acquisition experience, or even a bigger company than you have right now. You won't need any of that stuff in the end. You just need to believe that you can find a business to buy. And then, do you believe that if you were able to buy a business to work with your current business, that you'd be way farther ahead than where you are now? Well then, buy a business, because on your own it would just take a bit longer, and yeah, it might cost you a few extra bucks to get it done, but you could still get it done. Or realize the huge value that I bring and push the link to book the call, because we're the Real Kingman Corporation, and with our help you could absolutely buy $1 million business and pay nothing out of pocket for it.